To fully immerse oneself in the activities and actions of those that they're trying to help is the only and best way to do it.
Hey everybody, this is Morgan J. Ingram, host of the SDR Chronicles, bringing you guys sales development experts, practitioners, sales leaders, bringing awesome insight on sales development. So today I have Sheppard from Growth X Academy, teaching sales professionals around the world about tech and how to really enhance your career and how to progress your career in the right direction so you actually can be successful and actually achieve the goals that you want. So without any further ado, I'm going to let Sean introduce himself, and we're getting on the topic of the day of how to really understand the most crucial skills in sales and how to actually achieve your goals.
Thanks, Morgan. Good to be here.
Awesome. So we got Sean here. First question is, okay, so skills, the most crucial skills. So like, what are the most crucial skills in sales, and like, what does that actually mean?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think the most important skill is business acumen. In sales, your job is to help other people be successful. And in order to do that, the most effective way and respectful way possible is to understand someone's business as well, if not better than they understand it themselves. And in particular, the role that they perform, the contribution it makes to an organization, how it ties to the 4 reasons why companies buy, either to make money, save money, create a competitive advantage, or my favorite, stay out of prison. Compliance, right? Things that keep you in compliance legally, that reduce risk or liability for a company. So to understand that means you have to understand how businesses work. You need to be able to quickly assess and analyze those businesses, understand who their customers are, their value, the problems they solve for those customers, the value proposition that they message to those customers, the solution that they deliver, how they deliver it, how they sell, what they sell for, how much it costs them to deliver their products and services, what metrics matter most to their business, what unfair advantages they claim to have, if any, what industries, sectors, and verticals they sell into. And if you can do that, then you can better prepare yourself to quantify the value and tell the similar story of what you do to help them be successful. Way too many people in sales talk about themselves and their products as opposed to their customers and their problems. And the best way to get focused on customers and their problems is to understand those customers as well as they understand themselves. So business acumen is number 1.
Awesome. So let's dive into a lot of things that you mentioned there. So you talked about speaking their language. Like, how does a sales professional, SDR, understand the language of their prospect?
To live in their shoes, to fully immerse oneself in the activities and actions of those that they're trying to help is the only and best way to do it. So you literally have to say, all right, if I'm selling into I'll give a good example of one we just talked about today. If I'm selling into construction companies, a software platform that's automating how they collect and track time,
right,
and activity on the job site, then I better know damn well how a foreman does his job every day, especially if he's tracking that stuff on paper. So I need to go live in that environment. I need to go put a hard hat on. I need to go hang out at the bars where those guys hang out. I need to read what they read. I need to eat what they eat. I need to sleep what they sleep. I need to live the life that they live. I need to understand how they're measured by their bosses and how their bosses are measured and how their bosses' bosses are measured. I need to understand how that foreman's company makes money. I need to understand what their job and role is every day and the functions that they perform. I need to know the pain associated with that and whether or not I can solve that pain. And I need to feel that in the most visceral ways possible. And I need to understand their language. I need to speak like them. I need to behave like them. And if I do that and I feel like I become them, it's only truly then when you can understand what someone's going through.
Right, and becoming them, is that more so like talking to those individuals and just connecting with them? Is that like actually like shadowing their job one day? Like, how do you actually get more immersed into that?
Yeah, and this is where salespeople tend to be lazy. They think they can just read about this and Google it.
Yeah.
But way too many people think that Google's the answer to all their problems. You need to do the research. You need to do the work. So you do, absolutely. The most effective customer development, and we deal a lot with taking new products to market here at GrowthX as a seed stage fund and as a market accelerator focused on helping our company sell and market as opposed to develop products. And then with the academy, with what we teach, we take a lot of new products to market, and the best and most effective way to do that is through true customer discovery and development. So that means I need to be living alongside my customers, and your best first customers are customers in your backyard, or you go to their backyard where you're sitting with them, you're working with them. The best products are typically built by people who've lived and felt the problem. So you need to live and feel the problem in the same way. So you need to do whatever it takes. Yes, you need to read all the things they're reading, and yes, you can do all the research online, certainly, but you need to actually get in the field, talk to these people, understand them, and focus on the things that they care about. And that's the only way to do it. That's why you see some of the most successful salespeople in any product or market having been customers of that product prior. One of the greatest compliments, I was just having this conversation with one of our startup companies yesterday. They just hired one of their best customers to be on their sales team. That's a great compliment. When you can actually get your customer to come work for you and sell your product because they believe in it that much, that's a true testament to building a great product into a market. And that's why those people often are the quickest to ramp and be successful, because they have business acumen. They also have the second most important skill, which is market acumen, understanding the markets in which you're selling into, becoming a complete subject matter expert and an industry wonk. You owe it to yourself as a sales professional to do that. And you need to buy into that. You need to believe that this is your area of expertise, and your job is to master that vertical, that industry, or that market. And then the third thing is communications. You have to be able to effectively communicate, both synchronously, asynchronously, verbally, non-verbally, through your writing, through your speaking, through your presenting, and through your body language, your voice and tone and inflection, and then also connect the dots. How do you deliver value based on what you now know about their business and their market? And if you can do those three things as well as you possibly can, and you continue to work on those just generally as a human, you will be more successful regardless of what you do.
Yeah, and Sean, I love it. I think the skills and the methods that you just mentioned are obviously going to help you get on the forefront of any type of sales floor or sales development floor, regardless, because you're obviously going to be speaking the same language, and you're also going to have the knowledge to actually profess to your prospects and to future customers. So I wanted to dive a little bit more into the market acumen. How does someone kind of get that acumen? How does it grow? Is it more so, am I listening to a podcast every single day? Am I going to events? Am I listening to people on panels? Like, how do I obtain that knowledge every single day, and how do I stay accountable to that?
Yeah. So again, great question. The foundational principles of GrowthX Academy, for example, are mindset, mastery, community, and career. And those four pillars are the ones which by we live here every day, and we believe that every human should if they want to become a master at anything.
Right.
The idea is, number one, get into the right mindset. For example, that means a growth mindset as opposed to a fixed mindset. And if you're not familiar with Carol Dweck's work on mindset and the growth mindset, I strongly suggest everyone go read it. Listen to podcasts interviewing with Carol Dweck. Research everything you can on growth mindset as in general. But as an example, that means that feedback is a gift. There's no such thing as rejection. I replaced the word rejection with feedback. I am a lifelong learner. I can't wait for every opportunity to have another interaction with my market to learn a little bit more about how I can help them and how I can refine my messaging, my product, to help them better. So that's mindset, right? Then mastery. It's this idea that you don't have to be born with a certain level of talent to be a master of anything. You can, through deliberate practice, achieve mastery. It starts with knowledge, then it goes to competency, then it goes to proficiency, and then leads to mastery. It takes a long time, the classic 10 years and 10,000 hours concept, yes. But you have to deliberately, intentionally set time aside every single day to learn more and build yourself and be better at business, market, and communications in order to do it. And then community, leverage that community. Make it known to the world that this is what you seek, and people will come out and help you. But if they can't help you if they don't know, and seek diverse opinions of thought, of a wide variety of different experts in industries that can help you support this. And then career, everything you do, we believe there's no distinction between personal and professional development when you're in a human-centered role, and particularly in sales.
Right.
You develop yourself as a person, you will develop yourself as a professional. And so when you wrap all those things up and you intentionally live that every day, you're going to get what you want. But it starts with the habits of today, helping you achieve the outcomes of tomorrow.
Yeah, that's super important. The step-by-step process that you make, especially mastery. I think mastery is super important because every single day you should be becoming to be that expert, to be that master, and actually cultivate the skills that you have to actually manifest that and take that to that next level. And you talked about community, and I think it's just something that a lot of people, as they enter into a new role, maybe they come into a new space, they don't know how to actually ask for help, how to ask for direction. So what's your advice for people who are newer to a sales role, newer to an SDR role, and they're actually looking for guidance to actually increase their skills that they may not be getting internally?
Yeah, it starts with that mindset. So a fixed mindset would prevent them from asking for help and reaching out.
Right.
A growth mindset would say, I don't know what I don't know yet. And I'm super eager to learn. So I need to find people who have already accomplished what I want to accomplish. That's what we call mentors. I define mentorship as a mentor is someone that's already achieved what you want to achieve. Seek them out. Give them a reason to help you and make them your mentors, and use that as a guide and a roadmap to help you get where you want to go.
And how do you provide that value to that mentor that may have the thing? Maybe if you can't give them value, how do you give them value to actually generate that conversation?
Look, people who are true mentors and have been through this and know how hard it is, when they get to a certain point in their life, they appreciate the opportunity to give back. And sometimes just demonstrating that you're willing to do whatever it takes to be great is enough for a mentor to want to work with you. If you can demonstrate to them and show them that you're genuine and authentic and sincere in your desire to be better, and that you're not a taker, you're a giver, and this is how you're going to give back as well. You'd be amazed at how much time and people will give you. There's this wonderful book called The Go-Giver. If you haven't read it, I strongly suggest people read it. And then there's a follow-on to it called Go Givers Sell More. And it's a wonderful allegory about the most successful people in the world are the ones that give the most. And as sellers, we're always talked about hustle, being a go-getter.
Yeah.
But being a go-giver is better, because selling is helping, right? And our job, if we believe this, part of the mindset is that I believe this is the greatest profession in the world, Morgan. You and I talked about this last week at the American Association for Inside Sales Professionals Conference where I spoke. I believe that there's no more noble profession when it's applied correctly in the marketplace than selling. We help people. We help them get what they want. And if you have that mindset, then you can be successful. If you show that mindset to people who've done it before, who share that worldview with you, they will give back in amazing ways. But then again, at the same time, in addition to, I shouldn't say but then again, but in addition to that, Morgan, you also have to do a lot of this on your own. You've got to be resourceful. You got to hack your own life. You got to find out. The information is out there. You just have to do the work.
Yep. I mean, I love it because I resonate with a lot of that on a lot of levels. I think that, of course, you do have to reach out and you have to show that value and you have to do that. You have to put in the work as well to show that you're actually willing to actually, be a person to put value into. But you talked about the go-giver, right? And I think I've actually never read that book, so now it's definitely something that I'm going to read. But how can you get, it's a mindset, right? But is it also a skill at the same time? Like, kind of take a deeper dive into that, because what if you feel like you come into the sales role and maybe the person that is your coach or your mentor, your boss is telling you, hey, you need to get after, you need to go get it, but you actually are not given that go-giver mindset. So how can you actually transform someone into that go-giver mindset and actually gain that skill?
Well, they have to do it themselves, right? It's one thing to have we break learning into 3 buckets. There's knowledge, skills, and behaviors. There's what you need to know, there's what you need to be able to do, and then there's how you behave while you're doing it.
Right.
So start by acquiring the knowledge and know that 90% of these societal misconceptions that are given to us as we grow up are bullshit, right? We're not all Willy Lomans and Death of a Salesman. It's not all retail used car sales. It's not manipulative tactics. It's not snake oil. We're not trying to trick people into doing business with us. We're genuinely trying to be helpful. And so you have to put yourself in that mindset. And then you have to seek out those that speak about that mindset for constant reinforcement. And then as you start to have real conversations, you start to actually perform the tasks and roles associated with being an SDR or being an AE or a CSR or whatever. It doesn't really matter. When you actually start talking to humans and you actually have to start doing the work, you need to have a mindset of, I'm here to learn. And my job is to help you be successful. And the only way I can do that is to help you, is to understand you more than be understood, to be interested more than interesting. And so you have to put yourself in that mindset and you have to constantly reinforce it. And no, people aren't always going to give that to you. They're going to say, get after it, get on the phone. Great, I get it. Activity breeds results, but the right activity breeds the right results. And that comes from this constant being open, removing rejection and fear from your mindset entirely, and being completely focused on, I can't wait to learn. I can't wait for people to tell me what they think. My job is to get to the truth. It's what we tell our startups. It's what we tell the students at the academy every day. We're a truth university. We're a truth accelerator. It's all about finding out the truth. And getting the truth from customers and prospects is super hard. It's harder now than it's ever been because people don't like conflict. And if they're going to say something that might hurt your feelings, they probably won't say it. So you have to become very good at uncovering those truths. And there are ways to do it. There absolutely are. And it has to do with creating a safe place for people to talk to you. It has to do with giving your customer and your prospect the power during the conversation. It has to do with being very clear and creating a conversation framework that says, I hypothesize that I can help you based on the fact that I've helped others like you. I'd love to know if that's the case. Can we have that conversation? And then being consistent with your actions around those words as you navigate that conversation. So to not sell, but seek fit. Can I help you? If I can, how can I help you? What can we do? Can we work together? Who else is involved in this process? And where do we go from here?
Awesome. Yep, I love that. I love that breakdown in that process. So I know we've broken down a lot into the market acumen, but I kind of want to shift gears a little bit and talk about what's the most underrated, crucial skill in sales.
I would say analytical problem solving.
Okay.
Critical thinking. The ability to think for oneself and really think through problems. And Einstein said it best. It's not that I'm smarter than anyone else. I just spend more time on the problem. And salespeople have a responsibility to do the same thing. Customers in today's market have access to more information about us and different opinions about us than they've ever had before. So if they're serious about identifying solutions, if they've truly recognized a need in their own mind and they're out there evaluating their options, they're coming to you prepared, and you need to be prepared as well. You need to know more about them than they know about you. And with insights, right? Not just, I know this about you, but based on what I know about you, here's what I think you should do. Coming to the table with insights, showing how you're different, having a unique point of view, that all comes from critical thinking. That all comes from taking the time to spend time on a situation, the problems associated with it, what the impact that might be on your prospect's business, and then what the resulting need might be and how you might solve for that.
So
that's what buyers want.
Is that slowing everything down at the end of the day and not going too fast?
Yes, it's absolutely slowing everything down. Just picking up the phone and dialing or sending out a shit ton of emails by itself is not enough. It's taking the time to do the research. My first sales job was in enterprise sales, selling, at a value-added reseller called Insight, 70,000 plus products and services. And while everyone else was focused on $80 to $100 a day and 4 hours of talk time, I was focused on reading quarterly reports and 10Ks. I was focused on trying to figure out what business leaders really cared about, what their strategic initiatives were, what things were top of mind for them today, who in the C-suite was being moved in and out, which would create trigger events for actions and change to happen. Do you know that 73% of the enterprise purchases are not budgeted for at the beginning of the fiscal year?
I did not know that. It's a good stat.
3 and 4. 3 in every 4 buys that happen in a fiscal year were not initially budgeted for. Because you can't predict change. You can't predict what's going to happen tomorrow. You have to respond to that. And that's everyone. So your job needs to be to deliver those insights, to be a thought leader with your customers. But the only way to do that is to do the work and to truly show that you understand them. And so I had less dials, I had less talk time, but guess what? Within 18 months, I was a top rep in a company of 800 because I understood how to have conversations with decision makers about the shit that really matters to them and how I might propose to solve those problems. And guess what? There's a lot of bad salespeople out there, so you don't have to do this too hard to separate yourself, I promise.
Just provide, basically, at the end of the day, like, put in the work so that you can provide the right value and touch the right people's ears.
That's right. And the problem is that systemically, none of us go to college or school to become a salesperson.
No.
Half of college graduates end up in sales-related roles with no background, education, or experience. We all end up in it by accident, right? But what if it was intentional? What would we do differently? Think about that for a moment. What would you do to prepare yourself for the role that you entered? You and I had this conversation about your background, Morgan. You came out of banking and finance, right? So if you went into school as a teenager recognizing the value and the importance of professional selling and viewed it the same way we view being a doctor or a lawyer, well, not a lawyer, an accountant, or any of these roles, how much better would you be right now? How much better would commerce be for salespeople talking to buyers every day if they were fully prepared for this?
Be a fundamental shift.
Absolutely, and that's my mission now. That's what the GrowthX Academy is all about, is professionalizing sales to the point to where people can walk into a company and make a genuine impact and be better. And the results are there. Anybody who's gone through my program is already in positions of leadership or hiring or founding companies or standing out as top individual contributors because they've been fully immersed in the mindset, community, career aspects and the mastery aspects of what we do at the Academy to help them get prepared. And I just want the world to know that this is a thing and they should be focused on it. And again, with all respect to the schools that quote unquote have some sort of sales program, it's very light. It's very perfunctory, to use an academic term. And it's not teaching people what they really need to know, because you know as well as I do, salespeople learn on the job. So they need an experiential, fully immersive way to do that. And we provide that here at the Academy, and I want to continue. I want everybody to provide it. I don't need to be the only one.
Right.
But I do believe that if we can replicate the best salespeople and take them from the 3% to the 30%, oh, what a world this would be. It would be a much easier and more enjoyable place to do business.
Yeah, exactly. You would have just better transactions, better conversations overall. And, I love the mission that you have. I think it's super important. I was talking to other individuals about this as well. I was like, if this was something that was in college, obviously the trajectory would have been different. Obviously things happen for a reason, and we're here because of the things that we've done in the past. And obviously those things that you do, you can amplify on that. But of course, it'd be a different story if there was, more to talk about it. Something I've always talked about is like going back to UGA, my college, going back to high school and like, hey, like, tech sales is a thing, because I didn't know what tech sales was until after I graduated, right? So it's like, It's crazy to not know that these things are out here. And also, but also at the same time, you do learn skill sets that are applicable to the job. But if you were more honed in on that, yeah, you would obviously be way more educated. Your communication would just be awesome. Everything would just obviously be more enhanced than what it is now.
Yeah, I mean, you should. I won't name any names to protect the innocent, both on the graduate side as well as on the company sides in which they work. But some of the anecdotal stories I hear from them as they go into the workforce and they see how these operations are being run and how SDRs and AEs are doing their business every day, they're shocked because they learned the right way the first time. And people are typically left to the mercy of the organization they go into, the culture, the training, and the mentors and the leadership.
Yeah.
And they're blown away by shitty email copy and poor work habits and the fear to pick up the damn phone. And all of those things that you and I know are culture killers and company killers. And they're just blown away by the fact that stuff actually exists and that they're a lot further along than they actually ever believed they were. And now they have this confidence to know that if I just do the things I've learned and I continue to apply that, I will be successful. And they rise to the top very quickly as a result.
Yep. And I love it. And as you brought a lot of valuable insight and knowledge thus far, and going to ask a couple lasting questions. The next question is, you talked about communication. So how does one enhance their communication, and how is that a crucial skill at the end of the day for sales?
Yes, credibility is everything, right? So in order for a salesperson to establish credibility, they have to make a solid first impression. They have to establish a connection, and that connection turns into a rapport, and that rapport turns into trust, and trust is the primary reason why a human will choose to do business with you over another human.
Right.
So credibility is everything. So you need to, and we all also know that the brain is 60% visual. So how you look, how you dress, how you comport yourself, your posture, your eye contact or lack thereof, how clear and articulate you are, your voice and tone and inflection are critical. You know, anymore I see a lot of people do the up talk. You know how they finish a sentence at the up high like this? And it sounds more like a question than an actual statement. That shows a lack of maturity. It kills people. Or filler words like you know, like yeah, like so, you know, like basically, actually, cause, kind of, sorta. Absolutely, those things kill your credibility when you're talking to other humans, especially when they don't know you. So all they have to go on is the data that they can take in. A lot of it is either visual or it's auditory, and then even in body language and hand gestures, or a decent handshake if you're talking, if you're engaging someone the first time physically with that handshake. How do you perform that handshake? Those things are huge. And if you haven't read Blink by Malcolm Gladwell, you should, because it talks about the subconscious brain and the snap judgments that every human makes. And it tells us a lot about how we perceive people to be successful or unsuccessful based on that kind of data. For example, the top income earners have an average, you know, the taller you are, the more likely you are to be successful. For example, these are real true statistics, right? So I don't want, and I know we live in a very sensitive era of identity politics and all these other things that are going on in the world that people are afraid to talk to each other about, which is another real problem. People need to be able to have conversations in a respectful way in order to solve problems, and that's in sales and in life generally. But we shouldn't ignore that these are cold, hard facts, that the brain is wired to make snap judgments based on what they hear and what they see and what they feel. And so you have a responsibility to hone in and work on those things. And then as an SDR anymore, using email as a crutch, we have to work on our writing skills.
Yeah, of course.
And we have to do it in a way that is customer centric as opposed to product centric. One of the very first things that we tell people to do in here is write an email that doesn't involve the words I, we, or us, or me. Not easy to do if you've never actually sat down and thought about it.
Yeah, because it changes everything that you normally do, and it's reprogramming all that.
Absolutely. So designing and self-authoring your program in life, the brain will physically rewrite itself and reprogram itself based on what you write. So writing is an incredibly powerful way to understand truly what you think, how you're conditioned, and how you can change those social conditions and those those preconditions that you walk into a situation with. I'm a big believer in neurolinguistic programming and neuroassociative conditioning as a way of retraining your brain out of a fixed mindset into a growth mindset, into the idea that you can master anything with deliberate practice and intent, right? Into the idea that feedback is a gift, into the idea that every part of me is available for improvement, and I want to focus on those things. So communications is one of those aspects, but my goal, and there's a wonderful TED Talk that I suggest everyone look at by a gentleman named Julian Treasure.
Okay, cool.
It's called How to Speak So Other People Will Listen. And it's a brilliant 10-minute conversation about the conscious delivery and reception of communication and how to avoid the 7 deadly sins of communication. Things like gossip, things like judgment, things like hyperbole, all things that damage interaction between people. And if you can follow those rules and live by them every day, you will become a better communicator. You need to record your own voice. You need to video yourself and read it back. You need to tell the world, I need to be a better communicator. Here at the Academy, in the first 2 weeks they're here, they're presenting 12 times in front of wide groups of people on different topics, and then they're judged. And feedback is given based on content, structure, and delivery.
Right.
And guess what the most important thing is? Delivery. It's how you say what you say and how people perceive it more than what you actually say in the order in which you say it that makes an impact. So you have to work on those things. Super critical.
Love it. And I love that breakdown. I love the breakdown you just gave and all the practicality and all that insight. And that's a great note to ask the last question of the show. So the last question I ask every single person that comes on the show, what's the one piece of advice that you'll give to an SDR as they enter into their new role?
Never trust a mouth breather. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. It's all, well, it's a really good question, Morgan. And I'm going to go back to foundational stuff, and that is, if I could tell, what would Max Altshuler asked me this for Sales Hacker, what would I tell my 22-year-old self now at something north of 22? I would tell myself that there's no distinction between personal and professional development. That as I continue to develop myself as a person, and I embrace the fact that everything I've learned to date is open for improvement and debate and complete rewiring where necessary, and that I don't know what I don't know, then I would have been so much better off. And I would have gotten where I wanted to go faster, right? Than I already did. So continue to develop yourself as a person. Become a better person. Do the things to develop the person, and the profession will develop. That is the number one piece of advice I think I can give anybody beyond just SDR, just as a general life skill.
Awesome. Well, Sean, thank you so much for the value today. Thanks for taking your time out of your day to provide some awesome knowledge here on the SDR Chronicles as everyone is watching and the audience takes in everything that you said. So as I always say, guys, keep dialing, and I'll see you guys soon.
Thanks, Morgan. It was great. Keep it up.